For anybody who thinks Mark Carney is doing a great job on the economy, I just want you to watch this short video, analyze it yourself on the Liberals' upcoming production cap in the oil and gas sector and what this means and who's lying and who's telling the truth. So let's just watch quickly Stephen Guilbeault explain this and just see what he says here.
Mr. Speaker, maybe the member opposite should take the time to actually read the information about the pollution cap. Production is forecast to increase 16% by 2030, Mr. Speaker. So this idea that we're somehow cutting production is simply not true.
Okay, so he says it's not true that they are doing an oil and gas production cap. You're allowed to do as much as you want, and the conservatives are just lying about it. Okay, so and of course, Polyev says that Carney and his whole team is absolutely full of it. So let's just think about this ourselves. Who is correct in this? Okay. Now, before I jump into that, this is to scale. I just want to say this is Canada's global carbon emissions. So if you're that freaked out about carbon emissions, this yellow sliver or this red sliver here, this little pie slice is 1.7%. That's an actual number. That's how much Canada emits compared to the rest of the world. So even if it went all the way down to zero, if we just did nothing at all, just like lived in a tent and I don't know, grew vegetables out in the garden with absolutely nothing, no cars, nothing. China, India, US, whatever the big emitters would keep increasing. This wouldn't do anything at all. It'd be a rounding error. But just put that aside for a second. And I go to the Government of Canada's own website, and so far they're agreeing with Stephen Guilbeault. Look at this sentence here. The oil and gas greenhouse gas, that's what this stands for, production cap will put a limit on greenhouse gas pollution, not oil and gas production. So they're saying the conservatives are lying. It's not an oil and gas production cap. Okay. But look at this analogy and tell me if this makes sense to you. This is like a mom telling their kid, you can watch as much TV as you want. I only said you can breathe a maximum of 20 times while watching. And then the son's obviously angry. So think about that. You're saying, I'm not going to limit the amount of TV you watch. You do whatever you want. I'm only saying you can just breathe. And obviously it's a joke. Okay. Because why? If you're going to watch TV, you have to breathe. So once you get to the limit, you're done watching TV. Unless you can miraculously figure out how to watch TV without breathing at all, which nobody will figure out. And that's the whole thing with this cap. And that's why the companies hate it. That's why there's no investment here and they're leaving and going to the States, going to other places. They don't trust it. And this gets harsher by the year. So just think about that for yourself. Okay. So it's not technically, if you're really being like that, it's not technically a production cap, but in effect, it is. And that's what Carney and the liberals and Guilbeault and all these weirdos, they're pushing for. They don't want the oil and gas to come out. So they'd rather it go to dirtier jurisdictions, which is happening. So it ends up being more polluting to the globe just because you don't pull it out of the ground in Canada. What does that mean? Other people stop using it? No. It goes to other jurisdictions. The money, the jobs don't come here because they're playing around with these silly games. And I would say they're lying, even though technically they're being accurate. And the whole Carney government is full of this kind of thing. So let me know what you think. Share this video with somebody who needs to see it. Subscribe, like, and we'll see you in the next one.